Somewhere in a far-off ravine, a band of winged warriors have learned to attune their hearts with dragons and ride the breeze as one. In times of strife, these legendary knights take to the sky to confront all manner of threats, be they dragons of the coldest reaches or invaders from beyond the stars. And now, we delve into their most ancient techniques to bring their power to a modern age. Hello everyone, GoldenNova here, and premiering in the November 2010 core set Star Strike Blast, before properly expanding upon themselves in the December 2010 side set Hidden Arsenal 3, Dragunity took synchro summoning in a direction all its own, performing synchro summons using equipped cards? How in the heck did they pull that off? Well, come along for the ride, and I'll show you how. Prepare to learn the power of the Dragoon, cause it's time for Dragunity Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. So what's the deal with Dragunity? Well, they're a series of wind monsters divided between two types. The winged beasts, who are the knights that set up our plays, and the dragons, who act as our tuners. Unite the two, and they become the Synchro Dragunity Knights. We leverage all of these material to make either gigantic synchro monsters with powerful effects, or synchros that set up even further summons. They also play a huge role in the Duel Terminal storyline. During Age 1.0, they come to the world's aid not just once, but twice. First against the Ice Barrier Dragons, sealing them away for the first time, and second against the Worms, though artifacts of their existence will crop up from time to time in future ages. Let's start things off by talking about those dragons first, and at the top of the list is Dragunity Brandistock, a level 1 tuner monster with 600 attack and 400 defense, and while equipped to a monster, that monster can attack twice during each battle phase. Now, the wild thing about older Dragunity cards is that they don't have a clause that specifies it only gives those effects under particular circumstances. So, while we see a lot of on-theme effects that equip Dragunities to our other monsters, any off-theme effect that does the same will still let our Dragunities provide the same utility. So any archetype that equips monsters can include Brandistock to give an unrestricted double attack, which gets even better if the benefited monster has a good battle effect. Now, the card itself, pretty straightforward, but the precedence it sets is something to keep in mind as you review your Brandistock footage. Dragunity Corseska is a level 1 tuner monster with 800 attack and 700 defense, and when a monster equipped with this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add a level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand with the same type and attribute as the monster this card was equipped to. Another example of what you can do if you equip this off theme, this could become a big searcher in any monotype and attribute deck. I mean, only if you need a level 4 or lower monster out of those, but that covers a lot of really good ones. Heck, equip the monster with Brandistock as well, and you're looking at a lot of search power. And with an aggressive pointer like that one, it's doing a really good job at it. Look, it's already found the bottom right part of the art box. Imagine what else it can find. Dragunity Atlas is a level 2 tuner monster with 1000 attack and defense, and when normal summoned, you can special summon a Dragunity monster from your hand, then equip it with this card. And when this card is sent to the grave while equipped to a monster, select a card on the field and destroy it. We do have some effects that send our Dragunity monsters from the back row to the grave, so this gives them some extra utility in the form of removal. Atlas also gives you some acceleration, but only summoning from the hand is a bit of a drag. Though some of our monsters are higher than level 4, so having a way to unbrick them is pretty welcome. And that's the kind of benefit you get when you leave your problems to impatient little kobolds. They'll find a way to cheat the system, and honestly, I'm all here for it. Dragunity Koos is a level 2 tuner monster with 1000 attack and 200 defense that can only be used as synchro material for the synchro summon of a Dragunity monster. This card on the field can be treated as a level 4 monster when used as synchro material, and if equipped to a monster, you can special summon this equipped card. This is the first we've covered of Dragunity tuners that can summon themselves from the back row, and that's how we're going to be syncing with equipped cards. There's just a little in-between step where we turn the equip card into a monster first, and Koos's ability to count as different levels gives you great flexibility when it comes to your synchro lines. It's pretty fantastic, especially if you get 2 of these into rotation. Then it'll be a delicious combo of Dragunity Koos. Dragunity Javelin is a level 2 tuner monster with 1200 attack and 800 defense, and if this face-up card is destroyed while in the monster card zone, you can equip this to a face-up winged beast type Dragunity monster you control instead of sending it to the grave. That is one of the most convoluted ways of getting equipped to a monster I've ever seen. I guess it could be a way to summon a blocker over and over again. You know, it gets destroyed, equip it to a Dragunity, find a way to summon Javelin again, and then repeat the whole process. But that's the only thing you could possibly use it for, since we have a ton of other level 2 tuners we could use. Honestly, you can treat this one like its name. Pick up Javelin and chuck this thing as far as possible away from you. Dragunity Partisan is a level 2 tuner monster with 1200 attack and 800 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a winged beast Dragunity monster from your hand, then equip it with this card. While equipped to a monster, that monster is treated as a tuner. So it's a tuner that can turn your winged beasts into tuners, which isn't very useful on theme because you'll find that a lot of our Dragunities require dragon tuner monsters. Now, granted, it gives you other options for non-Dragunity synchros, but I mean, they're not very good options. When it comes to building this deck, I think the only correct choice is a non-partisan solution. Dragunity Phalanx is a level 2 tuner monster with 500 attack and 1100 defense, and once per turn, while this card is equipped to a monster, you can special summon this equipped card. Sounds a lot like Kus, so why run this one at all? Well, on top of having just more names, while this one can't act as level 4, Phalanx has no usage restrictions, so you can branch out into any synchro that you want. And that's a soft once per turn, so if it leaves the field and gets equipped again, it's basically a new copy of Phalanx, meaning you can summon it again, over and over as much as you like, until you've climbed that synchro ladder all the way up and out of the ravine. It's short, simple, and to the point. This card is an invaluable member of the team, even after all these years. Though I was led to believe that Phalanx had a more defensive connotation, so maybe we can work on that, huh? Dragunity Remus is a level 2 tuner monster with 800 attack and defense that can't be used as synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Dragunity monster. You can discard this card to add a Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand, and if you control a Dragunity monster, you can special summon this card from your grave, but banish it when it leaves the field. Also, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except dragon monsters. Yeah, this one is the real deal. It turns into your field spell, which is good in just about every dragon deck ever made, and it's a Plague Spreader zombie, giving you a free tuner to work with right out of the grave. You are limited to dragon extra deck plays from that point on, but that's hardly an issue. We're practically going to be built that way anyway. Trust me, it's a must play. Dragunity Darkspear is a level 3 tuner monster with 1000 attack and defense, and once per turn you contribute a dragon-type Dragunity monster to select a level 4 or lower winged beast monster in your grave and special summon it. Not a Dragunity one, just any winged beast from your grave. This gives it some cool lore overlap with the Mist Valley monsters, but aside from that, helps to get your riders back onto the field to complete your plays. Or hell, just jump ship and go help out the Harpy ladies. I hear they're always looking for good help. And level 4 and lower winged beasts is their whole business model. They even love dragons. Just be careful they don't get a collar and leash on this guy. Or actually, Harpy's Pet Dragunity does sound like a pretty cool crossover card. Hey, Konami, can we get on the phone about this? Dragunity Guizarm is a level 3 tuner monster with 600 attack and 1600 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can target a level 4 or lower winged dragon or winged beast monster in your grave and special summon it, but its effects are negated. And if this card is currently equipped to a monster, you can special summon this equipped monster. Cool, so we have another Graveyard Reviver, and it even comes with a way to deploy itself from the Spell and Trap Zone. That's pretty neat. This card is basically a one-card synchro that can help us put out a level 7. And spoilers, we have some options that can get this card equipped so we can get it into rotation again to keep going up that synchro ladder. Just be aware that this card actually has a hard once per turn clause on it, so we can't spam revive this one like we can with Phalanx. It's important info to have. After all, you want to walk into every duel Guizarmed with as much information as possible. Dragunity Pilum is a level 3 tuner monster with 1400 attack and 1000 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a winged beast type Dragunity monster from your hand, then equip it with this card. While equipped to a monster, that monster can attack directly, but it deals half battle damage if using that effect. This is similar to Ackless, but this time you get a more immediate benefit, and I am here for it. Much more immediately useful than will turn into removal later, this one just lets you get in for damage, helping you to sneak in wins you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Though, we do have to talk about effective visual storytelling. I'm not really getting direct attack vibes from Pilum, I'm getting piercing damage vibes. Maybe learn to appreciate the humble defense demolishing dragons before trying to emulate Amethyst Cat. Next up, we have some dragons that have themselves become the warriors, shedding their tuner status and fighting on par with their companions. Dragunity Mistletoe is a level 6 monster with 2100 attack and 1500 defense, and you can special summon this card from your hand by sending a face-up Dragunity monster you control to the grave. And when this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, you can target a dragon-type Dragunity monster in your grave and equip it to this card. That's actually pretty dope. It's easy to summon and gets a Dragunity attached to it immediately, which can then be summoned if it has the right effect and then sync up from there. It's a great first outing for our grown-up Dragunities. It's something you won't want to mistletoe. Dragunity Leviathan is a level 8 monster with 2600 attack and 1200 defense, and you can special summon this card from your hand or grave by removing from play one face-up monster you control equipped with any number of Dragunity cards. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can select a dragon-type monster in your grave, accept a copy of this card, and equip it to this card. And when this card is sent to the grave by an opponent's card effect, you can select one of those monsters that were equipped to this card when it was sent to the grave, and special summon that monster from the grave. This was one of the big draws for the Dragunity structure deck, and for good reason. It basically lets you trade in any monster that was equipped with a Dragunity into this far larger monster. You could even pivot into a different Dragunity equip so you could summon back a monster like Phalanx to continue your synchro spree. Or equip Brandistock to give your new 2600 beater a double attack. And the best part is that you don't even have to use its own summon effect to access its other ones. If you have other ways to put Leviathan onto the board, you can still equip that Dragunity for free. Or equip a non-Dragunity dragon that you want to reborn up. That way your opponent is less inclined to use their removal effect to get rid of this. Out of all of our dragons, this is the one not to be messed with the most. Leviathan went through all the effort to get dragon and bird wings. If that's not dedication to the craft, I don't know what is. Dragunity Armagram is a level 10 monster with 2900 attack and 2200 defense, and you can banish 2 dragon and or winged beast monsters from your grave to special summon this card from your hand or grave. It can target a face-up monster on the field and have its effects negated, as well as having it lose 1000 attack for each equipped card you control, both of which are permanent debuffs. And when your opponent's monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can equip it to this card. Wow, this one is bonkers. It's a dragon ruler with stronger stats, negation, and keeps your opponent's monsters out of the grave. Its high level means it's probably not helping you with the synchro part of your deck, but it's great at using all the synchro material left in your grave after you've done your synchro climbing to add more damage and a negate to your setup. And the best part is, you don't even need that much to make it work. All you need to add to make it effective is just a gram. Alright, that covers all of our main deck dragons. Now let's take a look at our winged beasts. Dragunity Tribus is a level 1 monster with 500 attack and 300 defense, and when this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a level 3 or lower dragon type monster from your deck to the grave. Hey, Foolish Burial for all our tuner Dragunities. Though we aren't limited to just Dragunities, we can send any level 3 or lower dragon. There are currently less than 100 valid targets at time of recording, and even less of those are even usable. Some examples include Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon if you need to grab a Salamandra spell, Stardust Worm if you want to extend a bit after you establish your big synchros, and Whitestone of Ancients to get a free Blue Eyes White Dragon if you're into that kind of stuff. If you need to set up your grave, this is a pretty good way to do it, especially with the help of cards like 1-for-1. And this card is looking fresh. Tribus is using feathers as throwing darts. This card is rad as hell. Dragunity Legionnaire is a level 3 monster with 1200 attack and 800 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower dragon-type Dragunity monster in your grave and equip that target to this card. You can send a Dragunity card from your spell and trap zone to the grave, then target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy that target. This gives you a lot of options. You can either get one of the Dragunities that you can summon from your back row to get your synchro plays online, or you can get Ackless for some sweet double removal. Though if you have any of your other tuners, you can at least get one piece of removal out of them, which isn't so bad. Solid card for the theme, and you know this one has a heart of steel, because it takes some beaks to go toe-to-toe with the forces aligned against the planet with your bare fists. Dragunity Dux is a level 4 monster with 1500 attack and 1000 defense, and gains 200 attack for each Dragunity card that you control. When this card is normal summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower Dragon-type Dragunity monster in your grave, and equip that target to this card. Like with Legionnaire, this can help deploy your tuner Dragunities, but can also act as a bruiser. It doesn't exclude itself when it comes to checking for the attack boost, as well as the Dragunities in your back row that aren't equipped to him, so this gives you 1900 attack under its own power. So if you don't feel like going down the synchro path, this can stick around to beat up the opposition with what looks like a cat o' nine tails? Damn, didn't know they freaked like that. Good job, Ducks. Dragunity Legatus is a level 4 monster with 1800 attack and 1200 defense, and if you control Dragunity Ravine or a Dragunity monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If any number of Dragunity monster cards are in your spell and trap zone, you can target a spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. Sweet, so we get a free special summon to fill up our board, and has free back row removal with the right setup. This is especially helpful if you search this out via Corseska, cause then you'll have all the setup you need. Though I mean, the Ravine is their home. Honestly, it would be weird if it couldn't be special summoned while it was on the field. It's not like they have to go anywhere for groceries or anything. Dragunity Militum is a level 4 monster with 1700 attack and 1200 defense, and once per turn, you can select a Dragunity card in your spell and trap zone and special summon it. So for those that don't already have an effect that can get them out of the back row, this is your backup plan. Now, what you're looking at is the most up-to-date errata for the card. It was actually printed quite recently, and it's kind of funny the way it's worded because we do have non-monster card Dragunity spell and traps. So you'd think they'd specify that this only works by targeting Dragunity monster cards in your spell and trap zone, but I think the rules help to imply that. But can you imagine if they let you get away with that? A Destiny board shouldn't be the only theme that has that power, Konami. Make this happen. Dragunity Sonatus is a level 4 monster with 1800 attack and 600 defense, and you can discard a Dragunity card to equip a Dragon-type Dragunity tuner from your deck to this card. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except dragon monsters. And if any number of Dragunity cards you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy a Dragunity card equipped to this card instead. This makes for a 1.5 card combo that turns any on-theme card into an equipped Dragunity tuner, making it probably the most important winged beast we have insofar as the early turns of the game are concerned. This smart and useful effect is reflected in its design, truly evoking the image of a wizened leader and hey, wait a sec, is that a red feathered dart? Welcome back, Tribus! It's so good to see ya. How is that big cloak treating ya? I imagine it's hard to fly around in that thing. Dragunity Angusta Clavi is a level 5 monster with 2100 attack and 1000 defense, and gains piercing battle damage while equipped with a Dragon-type Dragunity monster. Yeah, that's basically it. Brandistock can give this a sweet double attack to take advantage of the piercing, but that's really about it. The most notable thing about this card is the absurd name. It's no Asmiranda Martica diced into Kuldakar, but still isn't very good on the mouthfeel. Dragunity Primus Pilus is a level 5 monster with 2200 attack and 1600 defense, and when this card is normal or special summoned, you can select a face-up winged beast Dragunity monster that you control and equip it with a level 3 or lower Dragon-type Dragunity monster from your deck. So if we can summon this out consistently, this will grab us our best Dragunities. But so far, our on-theme cards don't have a way of accomplishing this. So any free monsters we can use as tribute fodder are gonna be invaluable. I like what it does for the deck, but between Primus's Whip and Dux's Flail, I'm starting to think that Dragunity is one of the horniest archetypes we've talked about here on the channel. But, I mean, it's a good fit. Primus can pile us any day. Alright, all of our main deck monsters have arrived. Now it's time for the Dragunity Knights, the Wind Dragon Synchro monsters that awaken the full power of the theme. And this is where I stop the recording for a bit to double check some pronunciations. Dragunity Knight Gay Bolg is a level 6 monster with 2000 attack and 1100 defense, requiring a dragon tuner and one or more non-tuner winged beast monsters as material. If this card attacks or is attacked during the damage step, you can banish a winged beast monster from your grave, and this card gains that monster's original attack until the end of the turn. Sweet, so now all of your winged beasts stuck in the grave are now like little honest Neoses or Kalut, and with a base 2000 attack stat, it doesn't take much for it to get really swole. It's also worth noting that the boosts last until the end of the turn, so if it battles multiple times during a single battle phase, those boosts will stack. But I'm not quite sure how this effect fits in thematically. Like, the winged beast we used for the synchro of Gay Bolg can't be what's used here because it's already riding the monster. And if it's our other winged beasts, what are we eating them? Can we get some cohesion in this Ludo narrative, please? Dragunity Knight Gay Dirg is a level 6 monster with 2400 attack and 800 defense, requiring a dragon tuner and one or more non-tuner winged beast monsters as material. Once per turn, you can add a level 4 or lower dragon or winged beast monster from your deck to your hand, then discard a dragon or winged beast monster. So sadly, you can't discard any old card, but the graveyard is like a resource pool on its own. Heck, treating this as a kind of foolish burial ain't for nothing, with Mist Valley Baby Rock being one of our best options, essentially getting us a free level 2 tuner. And that by itself makes Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and a monster negate like that cannot be overlooked. Or, even better, if you already have Baby Rock in hand, you're free to search whichever monster you want. And if that wasn't enough for you, this effect is a soft once per turn, so if you reborn Dirg, that's another search and pitch. And as the pool of dragon and winged beast monsters that work well in the graveyard expand, the better this card gets. And the better this dragon gets at performing your opponent's Funeral Dirg. Dragunity Knight Lewin is a level 6 tuner monster with 1200 attack and 1900 defense, requiring a Dragunity tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters as material. If this card is special summoned, you can target a Dragunity monster in your grave and equip it to this card. And if this card is sent to the grave, you can target a Dragunity monster you control and equip this card to that target, granting that monster 1000 attack and defense boost. Synchro tuners are pretty nifty, and having another avenue to get your main deck tuners into rotation isn't half bad either. But what I like most is the equip that gives such a big stat boost. 1000 can take even the smallest monster and rocket them into combat stardom. I don't know how they're gonna fit. Like, the little Dragunities, I can believe those fold into littler arms and armor that you can use for battle, but Lewin? That's a full-grown dragon. This thing is several regular bodies long, even if you slim this thing out. No Dragunity is going to be able to toss this around except for, like, the really big ones. Even the synchro ones are going to have problems with it. They don't look like they have very strong hands. Dragunity Knight Vajrayana is a level 6 monster with 1900 attack and 1200 defense, requiring a dragon tuner and one or more non-tuner winged beast monsters as material. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower dragon Dragunity monster in your grave and equip that target to this card. And once per turn, you can send an equipped card equipped to this card to the grave to double this card's attack until the end of the turn. So for a short burst of power, you can summon this out to wield the might of a 3800 attack monster, or summon a tuner from the back row and keep on synchro climbing. Either one works. The flexibility of this card is probably what helps keep it in use today. That and the incredible color scheme. If this orange was any more burnt, you'd have to call it a Flamvell monster. Dragunity Knight Gormfire is a level 7 monster with 2600 attack and 2300 defense, requiring a Dragunity tuner and one or more non-tuners as material. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target a Dragunity tuner monster in your grave and equip it to this card. As a quick effect, you can send an equipped card you control that is equipped to this card to the grave, then target up to 2 cards in your opponent's grave and banish them. So much like our last couple of synchros, we'll get a Dragunity re-equipped to help do more synchro shenanigans. But as a standalone monster, it's pretty sweet. A double banish from the graveyard, especially at quick speed, can be a damper on a number of different strategies, so it's good that we have it in our back pocket. Also, I don't know if this is the 4 AM scripting Nova talking, but the idea of this monster loading up a Dragunity so that you could launch it at Mach 2 at someone's grave is just wildly funny to me. We really are going to have to bury these bodies in the different dimension if we don't want these corpses to be accosted by high-speed, bite-sized dragons. They're getting worse than the crows out here. Dragunity Knight Trident is a level 7 monster with 2400 attack and 1700 defense, requiring a dragon tuner and one or more non-tuner winged beast monsters as material. Once per turn, you can send up to 3 cards you control to the grave to look at your opponent's extra deck and send an equal number of cards from there to the grave. That's a pretty big shred. Sure, it'll cost you a lot of cards, and you have to use them from the field instead of using them from anywhere else, but it's not a hard once per turn. So the more of these that you can cycle onto the field, the more often you'll be able to hit your opponent's extra deck and get rid of all their good stuff. Even if you just send 1 card, you'll get to look at their entire extra deck and know exactly what they're playing. Guess that makes Trident a bit of a try hard, huh? Dragunity Knight Barcha is a level 8 monster with 2000 attack and 1200 defense, requiring a Dragon Tuner monster and one or more non-tuner winged beast monsters as material. When this card is synchro summoned, you can select any number of Dragon-type Dragunity monsters in your grave and equip them to this card, and it gains 300 attack for each Dragunity card equipped to this card. Now, this card gets out of hand really quickly. You can equip all the Dragunity tuners that can summon themselves, and either climb using Barcha or use them for something else. And once again, we are not looking at a once per turn effect, so the more Barchas you can summon in a single turn, the more tuners you get to recycle. And that's not where the good qualities stop either. I mean, look at that chin! That's a crime-fighting chin if ever I've seen one, good lord. Dragunity Knight Ariadbear is a level 10 monster with 3300 attack and 3200 defense, requiring a Dragunity Tuner monster and one or more non-tuner monsters as material. When your opponent activates a monster effect, as a quick effect, you can banish a Dragunity monster from your grave to negate the activation, and if you do, banish that monster. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle after damage calculation, you can banish that opponent's monster. And if the synchro summoned card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Oh, wow, that is a boss monster. Quick review. It's a monster negate that banishes, it's a Harpy's Feather Duster when sent to the grave by your opponent, and banishes whatever you run over in battle. Not to mention, it's silly easy to summon, what with all of our synchro climbing capabilities. This makes for an incredible investment going both first and second, though the back row removal utility is going to depend on what your matchup is. But if you can land this soon enough, your opponent will barely know what to do about it. Dragunity Knight Ascalon is a level 10 monster with 3300 attack and 3200 defense, requiring a Dragunity Tuner monster and one or more non-tuner monsters as material. You can banish a Dragunity monster from your grave to target a monster your opponent controls and banish it, and if the synchro summoned card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon a Dragunity synchro monster with 3000 or less attack from your extra deck, and it's treated as a proper synchro summon. Now, that floating effect is a hard once per turn, but the removal effect is not. It's not even a soft once per turn. So for the same material as Ariadbear, you can pick apart your opponent's monster lineup with ease. And if they stop you from following through, float into Barcha and sync up into another Ascalon. But now that we've addressed how cool and awesome this card is, can we take some time to redistribute those wings a little bit? I'm not sure you're catching a lot of wind when you're sharing the same space with 3 other sets. That's gotta get cramped. That's it for our synchros, but we do have a Link monster to talk about, Dragunity Knight Romulus, a Link 2 monster with 1200 attack, requiring 2 dragon and or winged beast monsters, except tokens, as material. If this card is Link summoned, you can add a Dragunity spell or trap card or Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. If any number of dragon monsters are special summoned from the extra deck to a zone this card points to, except during the damage step, you can special summon a dragon or winged beast monster from your hand in defense position. But for the rest of the turn, its effects, if any, are negated, and it can't be used as Link material. Say it with me, folks, we've got the Link that searches the field spell. It's another Dragon Link staple, getting you the best field spell for the theme, turning any card in your hand into a Dragon Foolish Burial. Though for us, it also turns a card in our hand into an on-theme Rhoda, so our consistency goes way through the roof. It's also got the ability to turbo out monsters from our hand, so that's a nice little bonus before we use this to link up into a bigger monster. This is one of the most impactful pieces of support the theme has ever gotten. It's said that Rome wasn't built in a day, and with Romulus, neither will your board. Cause that's how long the combos are gonna take. Alright, that covers all of our monsters, now it's time for the spells and traps. Dragunity Glow is a normal spell card that adds a level 5 or higher Dragunity monster from your deck or grave to your hand. You can also banish this card from your grave, then target a monster card in your spell and trap zone equipped to a Dragunity monster and special summon it in defense position. This complements Dragon Ravine quite nicely, as this lets you access level 5 and higher monsters that the field spell doesn't get for you. Granted, we don't have a lot of good targets, but Arma Mistletoe is an easy monster to deploy to jumpstart our synchro summons, and like the art shows, a really good option is Arma Gram, especially because it turns Gram's effect that equips the opponent's monsters that are destroyed in battle into a steal, because Glow's grave effect special summons monsters equipped to Dragunities you control, not Dragunities themselves. Though it's also useful in deploying Dragunity tuners in your back row that don't have a way to summon themselves. This is a really cool supplement to the deck, but my favorite part is the art showing off just how chunky Gungnir actually is. I know it's a primordial spirit of deathly ice, but I don't know, when I see it like this, I just want to pet it. Dragunity Whirlwind is a quick play spell card that you can only activate if your opponent controls a monster. You can special summon a Dragunity Tuner and a Winged Beast Dragunity from your deck, but negate their effects. Then if your opponent controls a monster special summoned from the extra deck, immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon a Dragon Synchro monster using only Dragunity monsters that you control. But for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except dragons. This is pretty nifty. It effectively gets you any Dragon Synchro at quick effect speed. Yeah, it might have gotten lost in the wall of text there, but you don't have to make a Dragunity Synchro with this, you just have to use other Dragunity monsters for the Synchro summon. This, sadly, means you won't be able to make Ariad Bear without some additional monsters, but as long as you activate this at Chainlink 1, you can summon Black Rose Dragon for a board wipe, which is really good because our on-theme Synchros don't really have that gotcha factor that can interrupt our opponent, which for a card called Whirlwind, I feel should cause our opponent a bit more distress. Otherwise, I'm downgrading this phenomenon from a whirlwind to a pleasant breeze. Dragunity Draft is a continuous spell card that, when activated, lets you target a level 4 or lower Dragunity monster in your grave and add it to your hand. If your Dragunity monster whose original level is 5 or higher attacks, it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the damage step. So it's recovery on activation and protection while our big Dragunities attack. That's, well, it's nice to be able to get the cards back, I'm not gonna lie, but Draft doesn't make our monsters into Armadeses, shutting off our opponent from activating effects when we attack. They become more like Star Eaters, shrugging off effects when they attack, which is an important distinction. We're not able to shut off floating effects or anything of the sort, which makes it a little underwhelming if our opponent has floating effects on their side of the board. My advice? Find some way to convert this into advantage elsewhere once you've gotten that card back out of your graveyard. Or, better yet, just pass this up next time you draft up a deck list. Dragon Mastery is a continuous spell card that gives each monster you control equipped with a Dragunity monster a 500 attack boost. And once per turn, you can select a face-up monster you control and equip it with a Dragon-type Dragunity monster from your hand. This is one of the ways you'd be getting your Dragon Tuners onto your monsters to provide their bonuses, along with adding a nifty 500 point boost. That even gives value to equipping cards like Darkspear, which otherwise have no business being equipped to monsters. Though keep in mind, it doesn't give a boost for each equipped Dragunity, it just checks to see if they are equipped. Now, for modern builds, you don't really need this card. We have enough other effects to handle that already. But as part of the old days, it was arguably invaluable. Though I don't know if the art actually reflects that very well, since the dragon here still seems like a novice. It might be more appropriate to call this card How to Train Your Dragunity. Dragunity Divine Lance is an equipped spell card that you can only equip to a Dragunity monster. It gains attack equal to its level times 100, also it's unaffected by trap card effects. And during your main phase, you can equip a Dragon-type Dragunity Tuner monster from your deck to the monster this card is equipped to. Behold, the culmination of the dragon's might. All of our little dragons have come together to form this divine artifact that came to the aid of the Zephyra during Age 3.0. Which I bring up because the effect to equip any Dragunity Tuner makes a lot of sense here, since the lance is made up of every one of them. So you can either use this as a quick way to get more tuners onto the board via Phalanx or Koos, or you can equip your utility ones while granting a nifty little power boost. It's a lot like an upgraded version of Dragon Mastery in that way, letting you tutor up whichever tuner you want from your deck instead of being beholden to the contents of your hand. And then you get trap card protection on top of that because, yeah, why not? Divine Lance is really playing off of all the lessons that I learned from Monster Hunter. Making weapons out of parts of monsters is always good, efficient, and awesome. Dragon Ravine is a field spell card that, once per turn, lets you discard a card to activate one of the following effects. Either add a level 4 or lower Dragunity monster from your deck to your hand, or send a dragon monster from your deck to the grave. This card has been a huge part of just about every dragon deck since its introduction. You can send Dragon Rulers from deck to grave. You can send a Destrudo from your deck to the grave to access level 7 synchros. You can send White Stone of Legends to get a Blue Eyes White Dragon into your hand. And as far as our theme goes, it puts so many of our on-theme monsters into our hand, and if that's not needed, can still fill up our grave. And it's almost impossible not to have this card. Between cards like Terraforming, Remus, and Romulus, you're gonna be in that ravine more often than not. And as this is a soft once per turn, cycling between multiple copies of this in a single turn will get you some premium selection. But get your spot there locked in quick, because between the scenic views and the exotic occupants, rates for rooms at the Dragon Ravine are going up fast. Dragunity Legion is a normal trap card that has you activating one of two effects, but you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Dragunity monsters. You can either target a Dragunity monster card in your spell and trap zone and special summon it in defense position, or target a Dragunity monster you control and equip that target with a Dragunity monster from your grave. So you either get a Dragunity from your back row onto the field, or get a Dragunity equipped from your grave to one of your monsters. It's a nifty effect, but god, the archetype lock is very rough here. Not for nothing, our big level 10s are super powerful, but the flexibility of the extra deck is what lets us handle the myriad situations the game throws at us, and I feel like Legion is asking far too much for far too little. I know it's a big undertaking, but it can't be that hard for the team to take to the Legion Air. Dragunity Oubliette is a counter trap card that you can activate when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you control a Dragunity Synchro monster. You negate that effect, and if you do, banish that card. Then, if you control a level 10 Dragunity monster, you can have a Dragunity monster you control gain 100 attack for each face-up card that is currently banished. This complements Ariadne's monster effect negation, giving you total coverage of your opponent's options. Heck, just by having Ariadne, you can make it even stronger once the negation resolves, solidifying that connection. Though that also works with Ascalon. And they caught quite the moment on this card, the capture of Brionac, Gungnir, and Trishula, making Dragunity Oubliette some kind of Ice Dragon's Prison, which rolls off the tongue way better. I think Prior of the Ice Barrier was just trying to use these fancy words they learned after being an Ice Hermit all that time. They should probably change the card name around. It's not like anything else is using it. Alright, so that's all of the Dragunity cards. Now let me show you an itsy bitsy little combo that takes one card and a discard to make either of our level 10 Dragunity synchros. And the card you'll need is Sonatus, while the discard has to be any Dragunity card. All you've got to do is use the effect to equip Kus from deck, special summon it, then make Dragunity Knight Barcha, treating Kus as a level 4. Barcha will then re-equip the Kus, which you can special summon again, and by keeping Kus at level 2, you can tune it and Barcha for Ascalon or Ariadne, with the former better if you're going second, and the latter if you're going first. And trust me, this is about as basic as these combos get. The ceiling for this deck is through the roof for how much you can accomplish. Okay, so we've covered that combo, but what do we do with them? Well, it's all about the extra deck here, using as much Dragon, Winged Beast, and Wind support as we can get our hands on to make some frightening boss monsters. So we'll need cards that help us get to our main playmakers, because once we land our big monsters, it's gonna be tough for our opponent to get ahead. So what can we play to help them out? Getting our tuners into the grave is going to be imperative to make the most of Barcha, and to do that without committing too many of our resources, we'll want to lean on an archetypal draw 2 spell. Well, it's not archetypal, but for decks like ours, it feels like an honorary addition. Cards of Consonance allows you to pitch a dragon tuner with 1,000 or less attack to draw 2 cards, effectively cycling you 2 while putting one of your tuners in the grave. Now, this doesn't work with Javelin, Partisan, or Pilum, their attacks are too big, but let's be real, you weren't playing those anyway. And with how searchable your tuners are, thanks to cards like Dragon's Ravine, it won't be too troublesome to resolve this. And a good monster we can send to the grave with Dragon Ravine? That's right, Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms, is legal to play again and gives us a ton of utility. If it's in our hand, we can search out any dragon. If it's in our grave, it's a free special summon. And if it's banished, it's a free dragon on theme search. Being level 7 is a bit awkward since our best tuners are levels 2 and effectively 4, but that's not too bad. Link monsters still exist, and between Romulus and Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, we can still put Tempest to work, but it also adds utility to our odd level tuners like Corseska and Guizarm, so now you have even more of a reason to run them if you weren't already. Most decks use level 6 monsters as a way to make Beatrice to accomplish their nonsense, but for us, those are prime materials to make Hieratic Dragon King of a Tomb. This can get us a number of monsters from Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon, even post-errata it's still very powerful, to Armagram, which we can link off next chance we get, allowing us to revive it for its full glory. As far as getting to our level 6s, we already have a few good on-theme options. Mistletoe is quite easy to deploy as part of our main deck crew, and Gay Derg is a synchro that we want to get rid of as soon as we've used its effect so we can bring it back to use its effect again. But outside of the theme, it's time to reintroduce you to another fantastic dragon archetype, Bestials! They're chock full of level 6 dragons, even ones that search out other dragons. Throw in Bestial Lubellion to grab some branded continuous spells and traps, and Regained not only turns your Bestials into card draw, but also a way to keep bringing them back to the field. Or, you could also put out Branded Beast, which then turns your dragons into removal. You can even include Bestial Dispater in your extra deck. Now, the big problem here is that as a wind archetype, we don't have any lights or darks in engine to act as fodder for our Bestials, so our opponent will have to be our source of food. Mostly. Hand traps like Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, and DD Crow, as well as other Bestials, can fill that role for us as well. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is pretty easy to access here considering all of our Synchro climbing, and it's a great way to stave off Nibiru. But what about cards that aren't monsters? That's where Borreload Savage Dragon comes in. At least in Master Duel, the TCG has cut out many of our generic Omni-Negate options. We'll be making a lot of Link monsters, including Triple Burst Dragon, so eventually you'll be able to make one of Varus's most famous monsters, and now you have 3 turns worth of Omni-Negates at your disposal. Now, we've talked a lot about dragon support so far in this section, but what about the Winged Beast side? Well, the sad truth is that Winged Beasts very much play a support role in this deck. Most Winged Beast support, like Icarus Attack or Swallow's Cowrie, really only thrive in dedicated Winged Beast decks. And even if we tried to use one of the generic rank 4 monster type searchers out there, think King of Feral Imps or Gallant Granite, Raid Raptor 4 Strix only searches out dark Winged Beast monsters. And I mean, we already have Gay Derg to handle Zephyros. However, this does give us a prime opportunity to use Small World, letting us turn any of our winged beasts into any other winged beast, while the dragons can be swapped out for any other dragon. But even that's a little limiting though. What if we want to pivot from one type to another? Thankfully, hand traps come to the rescue once again. After all, Drollin Lockbird is still a very powerful one. And it's not doing anything for you in the main deck, so when it comes time to revolving Small World, might as well use it for something. As for a silly tech pick, well, recycling cards in a deck like this is pretty good. But you know what's even better? Recycling and removal. That's where Quillpen of Guldos comes in. Once you're done reanimating your tuners for the bazillionth time, shuffle them back into the deck to get rid of any problem card that can be targeted. Or get even sillier. Let's make High Speed Void Kite Drake. Terror Top has always been easy to deploy, and with Takadomborg at its side, you can get any Wind Machine tuner that you need to make Kite Drake. Even Takadomborg's drawback to limit you to only wind monster summons for the rest of the turn isn't a problem because, well, look, if you haven't picked up on why that is this late in the video, then I've just got to say a big thanks for sticking around this far, even if it is just to listen to my dulcet tones. It really does mean a lot. And that's all I have to say about Dragunity. I find myself torn about this theme. As a group of Dragon Knights, I should be thrilled, but in execution, I don't know, something about it just doesn't click with me. It may be that most of the Dragunity tuners have been cast aside for only the ones that summon themselves, or that the Winged Beast part of this Winged Beast and Dragon team-up is so small. Maybe the next wave of support will work on bringing the two halves together in harmony a bit more, and my investment in this theme will be restored. And when that happens, I will probably still be malding because it'll undoubtedly be roped into Dragon Link somehow, just like everything Dragunity related is tied into it. Seriously, when will this deck die already? Please! But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Dragunities deserving of Ravine reviews, or are they due for a few more flying lessons? And which one's your favorite? Me? I'm on board with Leviton. It's the perfect mix of warrior, dragon, and orange. It can't be beat. Let me know what your favorite is down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. And speaking of those lovely patrons, I'd like to give them a thanks right now. This month's Quasar Commander is Upstairs Media, Nebula Navigators are 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabits, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Owexatowi Hime, Anansi Dragon, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Emony Chan, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Gloomba331, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Leo 458, Mana Charge, Marion James E. Picata, Megacombi, Millennia Asta, Mern, Nathan Vig, Natiel Lee Alexander, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sammy Haim, Serenity Towns, Skybuster Leo, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ariel Kersey, Baron von Titty Sprinkles, Beelzephyr, Beluga Master, Blitzwolf, Borger with a Shotgun, Chaz Ghost, Childish Lamar, Dr. Reaper R.I.P., Drachenwald, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Ignis Heath the True Draco Slayer, Inblink, Kale the Dragon, Kevon Public, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Marluxia's a Girl, Matt Simmons, McSpoofy, Michael Shimabukuro, Night Trummo, Nyx, Obsidian, Shizuka Nijimura, Sophie, apparently, Stephen Williamson, Taylor Seymour, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Pokemon 52, Tiger X2476, Visor KG, Zeldreka and Zalus, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you liked what you saw and want to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the links to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another wind-flavored synchro deck, check out this video where we cover Speedroids. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.